I want to tell you something about where your marriage is headed if nothing changes in the next 30 days. Not to scare you, not to make you panic, but because I've worked with enough men in your situation, I know exactly how this plays out. And I need you to see it before it's too late to change it. My name is Owen Allen, and I help husbands rebuild trust and reignite connection using the heroic cousin method, even when she's emotionally shut down and ready to leave. Today, I'm not going to teach you a framework. I'm going to show you a forecast. What I keep watching happening in marriages where the man is trying, but the patterns are still running, where good intentions are losing to old habits every single day. Because here is what I keep seeing: men who love their wives deeply, men who are working harder than ever, doing more around the house, being more available, trying to be more present, and trying to reconnect. And she's still pulling away. And the reason she's pulling away is not because they are not doing enough. It's because that they have accidentally trained her nervous system to detach for years without knowing it. And if those patterns keep running for another 30 days, here is where this ends. She stops bringing things up to you entirely. Not in a dramatic way, not with a speech, not with an ultimatum. She just stops because her nervous system has logged enough data in the wrong direction that it stops calculating alternatives. I want to explain what I mean by that because this is a place most men have never heard before. Think about a GPS on your phone. First time on your new route, it calculates from scratch. No history, no assumptions, just in real time. But you use it every day on the same road, the same morning commute, the same routes home, the same shortcuts you always skip. And over time, the GPS stops calculating before you even type a destination. It already knows where you're headed because it's built to predict entirely from your patterns. Her nervous system has been doing this inside your marriage since the day you two started to break down. Every time she came to you emotionally and you moved to fix instead of hold, the GPS logged a route. Every time she expressed pain and you explained why it was not that serious, the GPS logged a route. Every time she watched your stability hinge on her mood, your peace tracking her temperature, the GPS logged another route. And now the routes are automatic. She does not evaluate you in the moment anymore. When you walk into the room, her nervous system already knows where this road ends. Shut down, self-protection, pull away. Not because she decided to, but because she was trained to. And here's what the next 30 days look like if those routes keep running. The first week, she gets quieter in a way you might not even notice yet. She stops initiating the hard conversations, not because she has accepted things, but because she has stopped believing that bringing things to you leads anywhere different than it always has. She still loves you in a way that she cannot fully explain, but she has learned through years of data that love and emotional safety are not the same thing, and she cannot stay open to someone her nervous system has been trained to protect from. Next couple weeks, she is spending more mental energy imagining what her life looked like without the emotional weight of a marriage that's not working. Not as a plan, as a relief fantasy. This is what research shows about women emotionally exiting marriages before they legally left them. The checking out comes first. The filing comes later, sometimes years later, but the emotional leaving, that is already happening. By the last couple of weeks, if nothing changes, the distance stops feeling like a crisis to her. It just starts feeling normal. And when distance feels normal, it stops generating the kind of urgency that makes people fight for the relationship. She starts adapting to the distance instead of resisting it. And once she adapts, once the emotional absence becomes livable, the gap between where she is and the marriage you are fighting for calculates its own route towards a door. I want to name what is on the other side of that door because I think most men already know, and most men do not let themselves say it clearly. The family that does not stay together does not just divide in a courtroom, it divides in your children. Your son watches what a man does when the pressure at home gets too high, when the pattern wins, when the distance becomes permanent. He's learning right now what a husband looks like from the inside, and he will carry that into his own marriage 20 years from now. Your daughter is watching too. She's learning what a relationship feels like when the emotional distance becomes a baseline. And she will walk into her own relationship already calibrated to that as normal. The legacy that you're building at work, the income, the company, the career that you might be grinding for, none of it buys back what your kids absorbed in the years when home was fracturing and nobody said it out loud. That is the 30-day trajectory if the patterns keep running. I'm not saying this to destroy you. I'm saying it because I sit across from men who waited too long to look at this cleanly and clearly, and every single one of them says the same thing. I wish I hadn't moved sooner. What if only, if only, if only. Before I show you the other trajectory, the one I watch happen when a man finally understands what is running and starts giving her nervous system new data, I want to say this directly. If what I am describing is already landing somewhere real for you, if you can feel the pattern that I'm naming running in your own marriage right now, do not finish this video and sit on it. Book a free consultation call with my team. The link is in the description below. We will look at your exact situation. We will identify which patterns are doing the most damage right now, and we will map out a real plan, not a pep talk, an actual plan for what it is going to take to change her emotional trajectory. The call is free, spots are limited, link is below. Grab it now and come back to finish this. Now, let me show you the other trajectory, because the GPS model cuts both ways. Her nervous system built automatic routes from your patterns, which means her nervous system can build new ones from different patterns. But it requires consistent new data, accumulated over time, in the exact moments the old routes used to trigger. Not a grand gesture, a weekend away, and definitely not a powerful conversation, though some conversations need to happen. New behavior in the same old trigger moments over and over until the GPS starts to recalibrate. To understand what that looks like in real life, I want to walk you through 3 patterns that are most certainly running in your marriage right now, because these are the 3 I see almost consistently in men I work with, and these are the 3 that keep logging routes in wrong directions no matter how long or how hard a man is trying. The first is what I call logic over presence. Your wife comes to you with some heavy energy. She is overwhelmed. She brings up something about the relationship that has been bothering her. And the second that she starts to talk, your brain shifts into problem-solving mode. You assess, you identify the core issue, and you build towards the solution. And when she takes a break, you give her the answer. You tell her what to do. You explain why it is not as serious as it seems. You remind her that the context that she's missing. In your mind, you helped. You saw a problem, you solved it. But here is what happened inside her nervous system. She came to you carrying emotional weight, and instead of finding a place to set it down, she found a problem she now has to defend. Because now she has to explain why what you minimize is actually real, and by the time that conversation ends, she does not feel lighter, she feels more alone. The GPS logs the route. Bringing my emotional world to him costs more than it gives back. I will stop bringing things to him. It's simple, and she does. Right? Men read that as her shutting them out. But what actually happened is she learned through a repeated experience that reaching towards you emotionally always ends the same way. The second pattern is the approval loop. She's cold, she's short with you, barely making eye contact, and you start reading the environment by tracking her temperature, checking to see if she's warmer today before you decide how to act. Maybe you do more around the house hoping that she notices. Maybe you pull back and wait for her to come towards you. Or maybe you become extra positive, extra attentive in trying to coerce a new, warmer response out of her. Here's why this trains detachment. When you're emotionally stable, your sense of security is being determined by her mood. You have handed her the wheel. She can feel that, not in a conscious way, but a nervous system level, she detects it, the same way that you detect uncertainty in someone who is supposed to be leading. There is a concept I teach in the heroic husband method, and I say it all the time here. It's the feminine mirrors and multiplies, okay? What energy you bring in as the masculine into the relationship, the feminine mirrors and multiplies back. Grounded certainty reflects warmth. Anxious scanning reflects guardedness. And the masculine looking to the feminine for permission and stability, well, the feminine loses its ability to feel safe. Not as a punishment, just as wiring. That's just evolutionary biology and psychology. Every time your behavior adjusts based on her temperature, every time your internal stability depends on whether she's okay today, you signal to her nervous system that the foundation is not solid. And when the foundation does not feel solid, you cannot stay open. The GPS routes to shut down as protection. The third pattern is the fix-it reflex. She brings something up, maybe is an old wound, something that she's brought up before, something that honestly makes you want to defend yourself because you have already dealt with it, and you step in. You try to resolve it. You explain why you have changed since then. You make your case, and she shuts down harder. Because when she brings a wound forward and you move immediately towards resolution, you communicate without meaning to that the wound is a problem to close. And she hears, I want you to stop feeling this. Not, I want to understand what this did to you, but let me end this so that we can move on. What she was actually doing when she brought that wound forward was asking a question underneath. Are you safe enough now for me to finally trust you with this? That is a test of presence, not a request for a solution. And every time that you move to fix instead of hold, you confirm that you're still the same man who made her feel unsafe before. The GPS registers, same road, same destination. Now, I want to show you what it looks like when those routes start to change. I work with a man, we'll call him Marcus, former military officer, 20 years of military experience, the kind of man who had led real teams under real pressure. At home, he was a different man entirely. He told me, I walk through the front door and immediately start scanning the environment, reading her, checking her temperature before I decide how I'm going to act. He thought that was attentiveness. He thought that was true situational awareness, but it wasn't. That was what being a good husband looked like, is also what he thought. But what she was actually experiencing was a man who left all his certainty at the office and walked through the front door as a man looking for permission to relax in his own home. The more anxious he became, the colder she got, because the feminine cannot rest in a foundation that is looking up to it for stability. Marcus also ran the fix-it reflex every time she brought up an old pain. He built his case every single time, literally like a courtroom, context, background, perspective, and every single time she shut down harder. About 4 months into working together, his wife brought up something that had been sitting between them for almost 15 years. Every other time that she raised it, he had gone straight into his defense. This time, he didn't say a word. He sat with it, he let it land, and then he told her he was sorry she had been carrying that for a long time. And he meant it. She cried for a long time. And something in that dynamic shift, not because of one conversation erased 15 years of conditioning, but because the GPS registered something it had never registered before, new data. A different route was possible. That is what starts the recalibration. One moment like that, followed by another, and then another, until her nervous system starts to calculate something it stopped calculating a long time ago. Maybe this road leads somewhere different now. Over the following months, Marcus's wife began initiating conversation that she had been avoiding for years. She started reaching towards him in moments she would have previously shut him out. Not because he said the right things, because her nervous system was collecting new evidence and the GPS was recalibrating. Now, I need to be direct with you about something important, because I know what happens when a man hears a story like Marcus and goes home and tries to apply it. He gets a few good days, something shifts, he feels the momentum, and then triggers hit. The old pattern fires before he can stop it. She registers the same man, and he's right back where he started. And he concludes it doesn't work. But that's not what happened. What happened is he ran a new behavior without a system underneath it. And a behavior without a system cannot hold under pressure. You cannot understand the GPS model right now. You can name all three patterns. You can recognize exactly what has been running in your own marriage. That understanding is real, and most men never get there. But here is what I need you to hear. Understanding why the routes were built does not rebuild them. Knowing the GPS is running wrong does not give you the new ones. The actual execution, what to say in the trigger moments, how to hold your ground when she escalates, what to do when you slip, and the old pattern fires faster than you can stop it, that is a completely different level. That is not insight, that is trained behavior under pressure. And the gap between seeing it clearly and executing it consistently, that is exactly where men stay stuck. Inside the Heroic Husband Method, the framework I built for this is called the Emotional Layering Protocol. 3 stages: healing, shifting, and bonding. They run in that exact order for a reason. You cannot bond with someone who has not healed enough to trust. You cannot shift without safety underneath it. And you cannot build safety with the same patterns that took it away. This is a behavioral leadership system, not a communication technique, not a script, even though we do give you those. It's a system that trains you to hold under the exact pressure while the old patterns used to win. This is where it closes the gap between understanding this and actually changing the trajectory. The men who close the gap, they become a different kind of father too. Their kids grow up watching a man who looked at the hardest thing in his personal life and chose to lead through it instead of away from it. The world does not need more successful men. It needs more men who lead where it actually counts, inside their homes, with the people who need them most. When your son watches you fight for your family instead of checking out when it got hard, he learns what strength actually looks like. When your daughter sees a man who chooses presence over comfort, she learns what kind of man she deserves to be with. That is the blueprint that does not expire. It lives in your children and it lives in their children. So let me close with this. You have two trajectories in front of you right now. The patterns keep running, the GPS keeps logging the same routes, the distance becomes normal, and 30 days from now, 60 days from now, 90 days from now, you're further away from her than you are today. Or you get a real plan. Not a conversation, not a mindset shift, a structured system that trains new behavior in the exact moment that matters. And 60, 30, 90 days from now, the GPS is collecting new data. The men I work with who turn this around all have one thing in common. They stopped waiting for it to get better on its own, and they moved before it felt certain. Book a free consultation call with my team. The link is in the description below. We will look at your exact situation and we will identify exactly which patterns are running the strongest right now. And we will map the path forward. You can also grab the Heroic Husband Method book. That's also down in the description below. Everything starts there. Link is in the description. Do not be the man who saw his trajectory clearly and waited anyways. Be the man who moved. I'm Noah Allen. I will see you in the next one.